On a Sunday night in late October, on a 2-lane state highway in rural Georgia, I was driving back from my cousin's place. He lived about 2.5 hours from me, out in an area that's mostly farmland and pine forest. I'd stayed later than intended. We'd watched football, eaten too much, and by the time I actually got in my car, it was almost 11 p.m. The drive home took me through about 40 miles of genuinely empty road before I hit the interstate. No towns, no gas stations past a certain point. Just fields, tree lines, and the occasional mailbox catching my headlights. I knew the drive. I'd done it dozens of times. I wasn't worried about it. About 20 minutes in, my headlights caught something on the shoulder. A car pulled off the road, hazard lights blinking. An older sedan, dark-colored, maybe navy or black, hard to tell. Driver's side door was open. As I passed, I saw a man standing maybe 10 feet from the car in the grass. Just standing there. Not waving me down, not on a phone. Just standing, watching traffic. I kept driving. About 2 miles up the road, I started feeling that specific guilty unease you get when you pass someone who might actually need help. What if his phone was dead? What if something was wrong? I turned around. When I pulled back up, I slowed to a stop on the opposite shoulder, passenger window facing him. He was still standing in the same spot, hadn't moved as far as I could tell. His hazards were still going. I rolled the window down and called out asking if he needed help. He looked at me for a moment, then he walked over to my car. He was in his mid to late 50s, I'd estimate. Gray stubble, work jacket. He looked tired, not distressed, which I think was normal enough. He said his car had stalled and he couldn't get it to turn over. Asked if I could give him a ride to the next town, which was about 12 miles up. I said sure. He got in. But here's the first thing I noticed. He smelled like he'd been outside for a while. Not bad, exactly. I figured he'd been there a while before I came along. I pulled out. We started driving. He didn't say much at first. Gave me a one-word answer when I asked his name, which was Walt. I asked if he wanted me to call anyone for him. He said no, he'd handle it when we got to town. About 4 miles in, I glanced in my rear view. There was a car behind us. Not close, maybe a quarter mile back. Just a pair of headlights, steady, keeping pace. It hadn't been there a moment ago, or if it had been, I hadn't noticed it. I didn't think much of it. The road wasn't empty, technically. People drove it. Another mile. I checked the mirror again. Same car. Same distance. Exact same distance, actually. Which was the thing that snagged my attention. When you're behind someone on an open road, the gap between you tends to drift. You speed up a little, fall back a little. Natural variation. This car was holding its position like it was calibrated to me. I sped up slightly. 15 miles over the limit, maybe. The gap stayed the same. Okay. I turned to Walt and said, straight out, that the car behind us had been following at the same distance for the last several miles, and I was going to pull into the first lit area I saw. He looked at me. He said, quietly and without drama, that'd be a good idea. Not really. Not, are you sure? Just immediate, calm agreement, which told me he'd been thinking about it too. 2 miles later, a gas station, 24-hour, well-lit, a couple of trucks in the lot. I pulled in and parked directly under the canopy lights. The car behind us slowed as it passed. It was a dark pickup truck, older model. It didn't pull in. It rolled past slowly, slowly enough that I could see the driver's side window was down. I couldn't see the driver's face clearly. I could see an arm resting on the door. It kept going, taillights disappearing up the road. Walt got out, thanked me briefly, went inside. I waited about 5 minutes, bought a coffee I didn't drink, and then took a different route to the interstate, added 20 minutes to my drive. I drove overnight freight routes in 2 years in my mid-20s. Alone, empty highways, 4 in the morning, you get comfortable with the dark. You stop reading things into it. This was about 5 years ago. I was doing a solo cross-country drive. I'd taken a job in Phoenix, and I was moving my life there in my packed-down Civic. Day 2 of driving. I'd made good time and pushed further than I probably should have. By the time I hit the New Mexico stretch of I-40, it was close to 2 a.m., and I was running on gas station coffee and stubbornness. I decided to stop at a rest area and sleep for a few hours, rather than push through tired. The rest stop appeared about 20 minutes later. I pulled in. It was a low concrete building with bathrooms in the center, vending machines on one end, parking on both sides, long-haul trucks at the far end in a dedicated lane. A few cars scattered through the regular parking. I pulled into a well-lit spot near the bathroom building, left the engine running for a few minutes with the AC on, then shut it off and cracked the windows slightly, reclined the seat, set an alarm for 4 a.m. It was probably 2:25 when I fell asleep. Then, I woke up because of a sound. A very quiet sound. I came awake slowly, disoriented, that fog of interrupted sleep. The rest stop was lidded. My windows were cracked an inch or so. I lay still for a moment, listening. Nothing now. I sat up and looked around. The parking lot looked the same as when I'd pulled in, mostly empty, a few other cars, the long-haul trucks at the far end, the bathroom building in front of me, lit overhead. I was about to lie back down when I noticed the car parked next to me. It hadn't been there when I fell asleep. A white sedan, parked closer than you'd normal. The front of it was aligned with mine, passenger side to my driver's side, maybe 3 feet between us. The interior light was on. Not the headlights, not the dome light, a different light. I looked at the car. Someone was in the driver's seat. A person, just sitting there, not moving. No phone in their hands, as far as I could tell. Just sitting in a car with the interior light on, facing forward. I watched for a moment. They didn't move. I looked at the time. 3:32. I'd been asleep for a little over an hour. I sat there for a moment going through explanations. Someone who'd also pulled in to rest, who'd left their door slightly open, who was sitting awake in the dark. All of that was plausible, but the parking spot they'd chosen wasn't. There were easily 15 open spots around mine. Normal human behavior, even in a full lot, is to leave a buffer between your car and a stranger's. You take the spot 1 or 2 over. You don't pull in tight against an occupied car in an otherwise empty area at 3 in the morning. I started my car. As soon as the engine turned over, the white sedan's head turned and looked directly at me. Not in my direction, but directly at me. The movement was immediate, like he'd been waiting for that sound. His face was in shadow. The interior light was behind him, not on his face. I couldn't make out features, just a silhouette, head turned, looking at my car. I backed out. As I did, the white sedan's engine started. I pulled toward the exit. In my rear view, the white sedan's headlights came on. I got onto I-40 and pushed the speed up. There was almost no other traffic. The highway was flat and straight, and I could see headlights clearly at a long distance. The white sedan came off the rest stop ramp behind me. The question I asked myself was, is he following me and not just heading the same direction? Because of what he did next, I was in the left lane, moving fast. The white sedan came up behind me and settled in maybe 8 car lengths, not passing, just pacing me. I moved to the right lane. It moved to the right lane. I slowed down to the point where it was almost awkward on a highway. He also slowed. I sped back up. He sped back up. This went on for about 6 miles. I was completely alone on that stretch of road. No other cars visible in either direction. Desert on both sides. The median barrier to my left. The white sedan 8 lengths back in my mirror, steady as a shadow. I was calmed at first, but there was a particular kind of fear that sustained in me, which made everything very clear and very slow. I had a full tank. I had my phone charged. I started thinking through options. I called 911. I told them my location, described the vehicle, explained what it had been doing. The dispatcher was professional. She told me to stay on the line, not to stop, and to look for mile markers. I gave her my mile marker. She said there was a trooper about 12 miles ahead who was already being redirected toward me. I kept driving. The white sedan kept following. About 8 miles in, I saw headlights coming from the opposite direction, fast, in the median lane, gaining quickly. State trooper. He crossed the median at a crossover point and got behind me. The white sedan's headlights immediately went dark. Not pulled over, not slowed down, just lights off. I watched in my mirror. The trooper had his lights on now, moving up behind both of us. The white sedan, in the dark, drifted right and took an exit I hadn't even realized was there. By the time the trooper pulled alongside me to confirm I was okay, the sedan was gone. He took my statement, said they'd put the description out. He said that Stretch of 40 had seen a few incidents involving vehicles following travelers and that I'd done exactly the right thing by staying moving and calling immediately. He said, a few incidents. I asked him what that meant. He was quiet for just a moment, then said it wasn't anything I needed to worry about going forward, that I should continue to Albuquerque and get a motel room. But the way he said it even got me more scared and frightened the more. Since that night, I've never quite managed to stop driving that stretch of I-40 after dark again. And I've never quite managed to stop imagining what would have happened if I hadn't woken up when I did. And what would have also happened if I hadn't. I was coming home from a friend's birthday dinner. It had run late. I left around midnight, stone cold sober, just tired. I had a 40-minute drive ahead of me, on roads I knew well. The county road in question was a connector route, 2 lanes, no shoulder to speak of, farmland on one side, a thin tree line on the other. About 11 miles of it before I hit the main road back into town. I used it to avoid highway tolls, which was a habit. I was maybe 4 miles in when a car suddenly started tailing me. And it was very clear, because I have read and seen many road robbery stories, to understand that this was likely one. I noticed it because of the headlights. They were very bright, not blinding exactly, but high, the type you get from a lifted truck or an SUV that fills your whole rearview mirror and makes it hard to see anything behind you. I adjusted my mirror to the night mode and kept going. I stayed at my speed and waited for them to pass. They didn't pass. 4 miles became 5. 5 became 6. The lights stayed right there. I slowed slightly to make passing easier. They didn't pass. Around mile 7, something changed. The high beams clicked on. Full brights, directly into my rear view. Even on night mode, it was uncomfortable. I held up a hand against the mirror. My first thought was that they wanted me to speed up. Road aggression, the impatient kind. I pushed my speed up a bit. The high beams stayed on. Another mile, still there, still bright. Then they flashed. Once, twice, 3 times, rapid. What went through my mind first was maybe it was mechanical. Or the old flash your lights urban legend where someone flashes you to warn you about something ahead. A deer, a downed branch, a car with no lights coming the other way. I slowed down, looked at the road ahead, nothing. The lights flashed again, insistently, and then the car behind me accelerated. Not to pass, it came up to maybe a car length and a half and stayed there. Close enough that I could see in the peripheral wash of all that light that it was a dark SUV. That's all I could make out. I picked up my phone and called my boyfriend. I told him what was happening, gave him the road name, and told him to stay on the line. Not quite long, the SUV's lights went completely off. All of them. Headlights, high beams, gone. I was suddenly driving at a dark road at midnight with no one visible behind me. I sped up, hard. In my mirror, nothing but pure darkness. I couldn't tell if the SUV was still behind me or where it was. My boyfriend was saying something and I wasn't processing it. I was watching the road ahead and the dark mirror and trying to remember how far the road went before it ended. About 90 seconds later, headlights appeared in my mirror again. Further back, moving fast, gaining. I had about 2 miles to the main road junction, where there was a gas station on the corner. I pulled in fast, parked near the entrance where people could see me, stayed in my car with the doors locked. The SUV didn't follow me in, but it slowed as it passed the junction. I could see it in profile under the gas station lights for just a moment as it rolled by, and also parked not too far from the station. The driver's window was down. I couldn't see the driver's face, but the window was down, and the car was just parked there. I had the distinct, unambiguous feeling of being looked at. Then he was gone. I sat in that gas station for 20 minutes before I called my boyfriend back. He'd already been looking up the address to come get me. I filed a report the next morning. No plates. I had never gotten a clear look. Dark SUV. That was all I know. The officer told me the road I'd been on had no cameras, and that without a plate number, there wasn't much to work with. He said these things sometimes had innocent explanations. Drunk driver, mechanical problem with their lights, someone who thought they recognized my car. He offered explanations, but he didn't seem particularly convinced by them either. I drove that county road some time after that incident, during a Sunday afternoon. About halfway through, I passed a spot where the tree line on the right thins out. There's a gravel pull-off there, one of those informal spots people use to park and access the fields. A dark SUV was parked there, facing the road. I don't know if it was the same one, but my hands tightened on the wheel, and I kept my speed up, and I didn't take my eyes off the road ahead until the county road ended.